welcome to Good Evening Britain, a Force for Good's weekly show coming to you live from our studios here in the heart of the great British city of Glasgow, with me, your host, Alistair McConnachie. We are broadcasting on all our digital platforms throughout the United Kingdom and across the world, bringing you quality pro-UK comment and analysis every Wednesday from 7 until 8 p.m. on Facebook, on YouTube, on X, formerly known as Twitter, and on TikTok. Please, folks, send in your comments. Please send in your questions. Please send in your greetings and tell us where you are viewing from in this country or in the world. We have a packed show for you tonight. We are going to be reporting on the very successful pro-freedom of speech demo, which was held outside Holyrood on April Fool's Day, on Monday the 1st of April. That was the protest against the Hate Speech Act, which Humza Yousaf, the SNP, the Greens, the Lib Dems and Labour brought in upon our heads. And we're going to be talking about that. And we're really looking forward to the bottom of the hour, where we're going to bring on Niall Fraser, who was one of the organisers at that event, a very successful event, a very well organised event. Niall's going to be telling us all how it went down and what his thoughts are for this particular act and for the future of that act and for the future of freedom of speech in Scotland. And we have to think about these things carefully, because goodness knows the politicians want to silence our voices. The politicians want to silence the voices of all the people that might have a different opinion from them, because folks, they don't think like us. People like you and I, we live and let live. And if somebody has a different opinion, we say, well, maybe they can be persuaded otherwise. But I'm afraid that the people who are presently running Scotland, the approach that they seem to think is, if you've got a different point of view, you're not going to be heard. We're going to silence you. We're going to oppress you. And if you insist on raising your voice, we're going to jail you. That's the way that they think. That's what we're up against, folks, unfortunately. So we're going to be talking about that, seeing what the way forward is, and also looking at some things that have happened today regarding Humza Yousaf. Apparently there's been 4,000 complaints already since Monday, and we're told by the BBC that many, if not the majority of them, are complaining about one particular man who made a very ridiculous speech and who might even be facing the strong arm of the law himself. Now, who would that be, I wonder? Oh my goodness, it's actually the First Minister of Scotland, the man who actually brought the law in. Can you believe the irony of it, folks? But there we are today. Now please, folks, if you're watching, hit the like button. Please hit the repost button on Twitter. Let's get this out to as many people as possible. We'll be speaking to Niall at 7:30, so the world needs to hear what he and I have got to say on this matter. So please repost that, folks. If you're watching on Facebook, please give us a like and a share. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit that thumbs up button and share it to everybody else that you can think of as well. Tepe says to somebody, that's hate speech, enjoy your 7 years. Yes, because that's 7 years of toil and trouble that you're going to be facing in prison if you get it wrong. The Scottish Army says, I'm a nationalist, but F the SNP. Well, do you know what? There's a few people thinking along the same lines who were former SNP voters, but who have been disappointed, very disappointed with the way things are going. Somebody says, Do England and Wales have exactly the same law? Well, no, they don't have exactly the same law. That's misinformation which has been getting pushed out by the Scottish nationalist apologists. The Scottish law extends the concept of so-called hate speech to a whole new set of characteristics over and above the matter of race, which is perhaps what you're getting confused with, sir. Furthermore, the Scottish law applies in your own home, where the law, such as it is in England and Wales, does not apply in your own home. Think of that, in your own home. In your own home. Imagine you invite somebody round and they end up reporting you to the police. They're not getting another dinner invite, that's for sure. Well, this same person comes back and goes, well, does that mean that you support hate speech? Well, do you understand that your definition of hate speech is different from mine? Don't you see that? Don't you understand that what you call something, what you call hate speech, is not necessarily what I'm going to call hate speech, okay? Because it's an objective point of view. Some people hate Alistair McConnachie. Some people love Alistair McConnachie. The people who love me are not going to agree with your definition of hate, are they? See how that works? So it can differ 180 degrees. And so, of course, you don't want a subjective emotion written into law, because then it's going to be abused by people who say that's hate speech, when in fact, no, that's just perfectly legitimate political comment. And this is the real problem that we're facing here, is that legitimate political comment will and is getting accused of being hateful when it's simply speech that the accuser might hate. It's not intrinsically hateful. And of course, it's not just the speech. You've also, for a crime to be committed, you've got to tie it together with the intention to stir up hatred. Or in some cases where the deliberate intention is absent, you've got to tie it to something that's likely to stir up hatred. Well, how on earth can you tell whether something is likely or not to stir up hatred? Give you a good example. Today, Joanne Cherry tweets out, and we've got a pic of her tweet here. Joanne Cherry tweets out that, of course, Humza Yousaf's speech was not criminal. Of course, she says, there was no criminality in Humza's quote-unquote white speech. But vexatious complaints about it, and the fact that under their own law, Scotland will now require to record a non-crime hate incident, shows we have a problem here. And we responded, it was arguably likely to stir up hatred, and arguably has done, thereby meeting the criminal threshold. Okay. So I understand Joanne Cherry, she's an SNP MP. She's not going to say that the leader of her party committed a hate crime. Of course she's not going to. So she's been a little bit clever there. But for a crime, so-called, to be committed under Section 4, Paragraph 1 of Humza Yousaf's Act, it has to be shown that the words were insulting. Insulting, right? That's an extremely broad category. Now, some people could choose, perhaps rightly, to be insulted by Humza Yousaf's speech that day. Because imagine if he had stood there and he had been spitting out the word black instead of the word white. Oh my goodness me, can you imagine that? Okay. Do you think Joanne Cherry would think that was racially insulting? She probably would. So you can choose to consider that his words and the way that he delivered it was insulting. And then for a crime to be committed, that has to be paired with the likelihood that that could stir up hatred. Well, there's certainly the likelihood of doing that. And to stir it up on the basis of quote-unquote colour. So all three tests are met there. Potentially insulting language, potentially likely to cause hatred to be stirred up on the basis of a protected characteristic, which is colour. So yeah, I mean, he's going down if the law was being applied equally. But do you know what? I don't think Humza is really in the sights. I don't think he is really the target of this. Okay, the target, as Police Scotland have already told us, is white males aged 18 to 30. And do you remember when they put that out? We got the screenshot. We got the screenshot as soon as they put that up on the 16th of March this year, the hate monster picture. Let's see where it is here. We'll bring that up. There we go. Hate monster. The hate monster campaign. We know that young men aged 18 to 30. Okay, well, you're picking on them because of a protected characteristic there, Mr. Police Officer. 18 to 30. Age is a protected characteristic. But they say here that 18 to 30-year-olds are most likely to commit hate crime, particularly those from socially excluded communities. They may have deep-rooted feelings of being socially and economically disadvantaged, combined with ideas about white male entitlement. So there you go. Police Scotland have just committed a hate crime against white males on the basis of their colour, aged 18 to 30, on the basis of their protected characteristic of age. So this was pointed out to them on the 1st of April, and guess what happens now if you go to that page? This is what you get. Page not found. In other words, Police Scotland have taken that page down, okay? Police Scotland have taken that page down because it is problematic. Now, unfortunately, they've left a similar page up, which they've had up since 2023. We've pointed it out to them. We may have to point it out to them again. But that particular page they've taken down, probably because they're now unsure about whether or not it in fact does break the law. Well, we're saying that if you're going to apply the law equally, then yes, it does break the law. It does break the law. It's very insulting. As I've been here before, but I'm so over the idea that the state gets to pick on young white males 18 to 30. So over that idea. Not acceptable. Not acceptable in our modern Scotland anymore. We have to get past that kind of thinking. So that was the Joanna Cherry thing, and the police receiving 4,000 complaints. There we go, nearly 4,000 hate crime complaints reported to the police. This is since Monday. Hate crime allegations against First Minister Humza Yousaf and Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling are among the 3,800 made in just 3 days, STV News understands. So, unfortunately, the force is saying that Humza's speech was looked at the time and it was considered not to break the law. Police Scotland said on Tuesday that it had received numerous hate crime complaints against Humza Yousaf for a speech he made at Holyrood 4 years ago, 10th of June 2020 to be precise. The new, I guess that should be new law, typo there. The new law also does not apply retrospectively. Well, that's intriguing. I don't quite know how they'll police that. But they're saying it doesn't apply retrospectively. The force said it had already assessed that no crime was committed when it looked into complaints previously. Preciously, it even says. They need a new proofreader on this site, I can tell you. However, also, at least some good news from our perspective is that they have said that the J.K. Rowling is not to be prosecuted, at least not yet. What that's about is that she made tweets on Monday, and she was kind of, I suppose you could say, baiting the police to arrest her. And yesterday, they said her posts were not criminal. Social media comments made by J.K. Rowling challenging Scotland's new hate crime law are not being treated as criminal, Police Scotland has said. The Harry Potter author described several transgender women as men, including convicted prisoners, trans activists and other public figures. The force said complaints had been received, but no action would be taken. Reacting to the news, Miss Rowling posted on X, "I hope every woman in Scotland who wishes to speak up for the reality and importance of biological sex will be reassured by this announcement, and I trust that all women, irrespective of profile or financial means, will be treated equally under the law." Well, that's good that she's saying that, because clearly the police and prosecutors and so on, they always do look at the person that they're about to prosecute and they wonder what are that person's financial means and what is their profile, and if we have a go at this person, are they going to be able to survive it financially and create a big stink about it. And of course, the last people that the police would want to take on, or rather the Scottish criminal justice system, is going to be Scotland's top-selling author. But she is well aware of that, and she made that point clear when she says, "I trust that all women, irrespective of profile or financial means, will be treated equally under the law." And she goes on to say, "If they go after any woman for simply calling a man, I'll repeat that woman's words, and they can charge us both at once." So there she is, showing some solidarity with her less well-off female citizens. So good for her for standing up boldly on that particular matter. And I'm sure we have not heard the last of J.K. Rowling and her tweets, because she's definitely got the bull by the horns, she's got the bit by the teeth, and she's not letting go. And she's also got the tiger by the tail. Good stuff. Now, talking about the SNP and talking about how little they actually know about things, I mentioned there about the law, and the law is a two-part law. The words have to be associated with an intention or a likelihood of stirring up hatred. And that's the test, okay? Are the words, when it comes to race, are the words threatening, abusive and insulting, and are they intended or likely to stir up hatred? And with the other protected characteristics, the test is threatening and abusive without the addition of insulting. And intention has to be shown. Likelihood is not considered with the other characteristics. But as long as you can get the words and an intention to be shown, then you've got a crime. And this person here, Siobhan Brown MSP, the Minister for Victims and Community Safety, has been misrepresenting the law. She's been saying that it is those things, but that you've also got to prove fear and alarm occurred. But that would be an even harder test, threatening words, intention, and also fear and alarm. But she's just made that last bit up. But she's going about the studios and the newspapers saying that fear and alarm is one of the tests that has to be shown that's one of the thresholds that has to be passed, that fear and alarm has to be created. But that's not so. She's got that wrong. She can't read her own law. And this letter was produced today by Murray Blackburn Mackenzie lawyers in cooperation with For Women Scotland, pointing this out. The offence is specifically concerned with groups, and there is no reference to, quote, fear or alarm in the Act. Furthermore, she got it wrong because she thought that the words had to be threatening and abusive. It's not, it's threatening or abusive. So again, she got the law wrong, and she wasn't capable of knowing what her own law was about. So this is what we're up against, folks. We've got people sitting in Parliament who don't even understand the law that they have passed. So no wonder they support it when they don't even understand it. Absolutely ridiculous. Folks, we are going to be speaking to one of the organisers of the free speech demo on Monday. Niall Fraser. We'll bring him on in 10 minutes at the bottom of the hour. But until then, let's look at some pictures of the event which he and a few others organised on Monday. We've got some good pictures here. Look at that. A Force for Good went along. Now, I should say we were not part of the organising committee at all, but we were one of several groups that were there, various groups from various strands of civil society, from women's groups to religious groups to at least one political party was there. In fact, there was only one political party that was publicising itself. That was the Scottish Family Party. And of course, A Force for Good was there. We had our Get Humza Out banner, hashtag Scottish Ejection. And that did create a stir. We were able to stand up there on that raised area just outside Holyrood, and the media were taking lots of pictures on that, I'm glad to say. Okay. There's another picture that was taken. You can see how our banner really does stand out. Thanks very much to the activists from A Force for Good who went along and took turns holding up that banner. And the good news is that banner was featured on regular GB News broadcasts all day Monday and also into Tuesday. And we were able to really get our name out there. Okay. Here's a fellow who was at the event. That's the chap from the We Say It podcast. You can follow We Say It on Twitter and also on Rumble. Just search for We Say It, all one word, We Say It podcast. He says there, I control my tongue, not the government, nor the police. My freedom of speech is my human right. I will not be silent. And I noticed that the fellow there from the We Say It podcast, he got into some papers as well with one or two comments. Okay. Here's one says, truth is not hate speech. That's a good poster. That really stands out, that one. Truth is not hate speech. Okay. There, who's that? That looks like somebody who should be the First Minister of Scotland, but that's Niall Fraser, who is going to be with us at the bottom of the hour. I must say, Niall, that's a fantastic pick. That's going down in the history books, that one. That's a really good one. And in the background it says, Scotland says no to Humza's hate crime bill. Okay. Now, Niall will tell us about this when he comes on in 5 minutes' time, but he is pictured there carrying a coffin which symbolises the sad death of freedom of speech in Scotland. And it seems like it's going to get a burial, but I am sure it's going to have a resurrection as well, because that's what we like to believe. Okay. And there is Niall with another of the main organisers, the one and only Steph, the Glasgow cabbie. And good for Steph, the work that he put into that. And we've kind of photobombed it in the back there with our banner. But hey, okay. And some people were like putting stickers and other stuff on the coffin when it arrived, and everybody, much amusement was had thereby. Okay. And hey, check that out. That was the Sun newspaper yesterday, had a double-page spread of the coffin of Niall, and our colourful banner even makes an appearance in the background. So that's good. Okay, thanks for that. Here's the page here. Nice. It says, "It's gendered the world as we know it." Very clever. Very clever. Good. Good. Well, before we invite Niall on, let's play a clip of his speech on Monday. And Niall spoke for about 5 or 6 minutes. Let's play a clip of what he was saying right now to give you a flavour.
If Humza Yousaf thinks that he can just murder free speech and leave its body in the gutter and we won't react, he's got another thing coming. We've reacted in exactly the way we should have done. We've come together over this. It's this unification that spells doom for the SNP and spells doom for these MSPs and their green minions. It's this unification, this coming together that brings a brighter tomorrow, a brighter Scotland. We do not need to live in fear anymore. We do not need to live in the shadows anymore, folks. I will not allow my son to be born into a place where his thoughts and speech are policed. It's never going to happen. And I can see there's some police kicking about. And this one's directed at you. Is this what you signed up for? Am I naive in thinking that the police want to protect their communities? Am I naive in thinking that? Do you really want to be Humza's dogs? Sicked on people accused of wrongthink? I don't think so. Folks, for me it all comes down to how we will be remembered. This life is a huge cosmic test, and I intend on passing that test. How would you like to be remembered? Everyone here. Would you like to be remembered as the righteous soul fighting back against tyranny? Would you like to be remembered as the person who made that difference? The person who turned Scotland back for the...
Brilliant. Brilliant. Now we're going to bring on Niall. Folks, on TikTok, you're not going to be able to see the interview with Niall because it's on our screen here in front of us. But you can go to twitter.com/UK A Force for Good, or you can go to youtube.com/UK A Force for Good, where we're broadcasting the interview with Niall live. Folks, please say hello to a firm favourite on the show, Mr. Niall Fraser.
Hello, Alistair. Thanks for having me.
Hey, hello, Niall. Good to see you. Fresh from your campaigning there. How are you feeling after that event? How do you think it went?
Well, to be fair, I'm absolutely buzzing about how it went. I think it couldn't have gone any better, and I just would like to thank everyone that came first and foremost. I'd like to thank personally the Glasgow Cabbie for helping the organisation at this event, and I would like to thank the Scottish Family Party for providing all the assistance, all the equipment, and really making it a big thing. So I can't commend everyone else involved. The weather wasn't great. Everything was against us. The coffin broke down. So I had a hearse actually.
The coffin broke down.
So the coffin didn't break down, Alistair. What's happened is initially I've got the coffin and then I've been offered a hearse, which I've taken. But it's an old school hearse. So it's, I think it's even a classic hearse. So when they were driving it along the M8, it's broken down. And they've had to come and transfer the coffin into another vehicle and bring the coffin to us. But yeah, so it came to us exactly like it couldn't have arrived any better, Alistair. You know what I mean? All these things happen for a reason, and it's just all come together perfectly.
Well, we do actually have a video of the coffin arriving, and we'll just play that just now.
You should walk. I'm to walk in front of it.
Oh, I'm not seeing it. Here.
Right, funeral march, boys.
You first.
Funeral march.
Yes. Well done. Well done.
Niall, that's your mother's sideboard. You know it.
I should actually point out that was at the very, very end of the event, and kind of unexpectedly it eventually turned up. But by that time, 4/5 of the people had left. What did you think actually about the attendance at the height of it?
It was it's the biggest crowd that I've ever addressed. So I thought that it was a paper quoted 900. Unbelievably, I think it was the Scottish Daily Express in 900. I've seen numbers around 250 and 3. I think the number's probably closer to anywhere between 3 and 5. It'd be hard to count because there would have been a lot of people coming and going, I think, because it was an hour and a half, or maybe just slightly longer than that. And the rain was miserable and it was cold, so I can imagine the numbers would have fluctuated quite violently, actually. So, but overall, I thought it was an amazing turnout for a bank holiday Monday. We all know people have got busy lives. We all know this costly lockdown crisis we're all going through is affecting people's pockets. Maybe not being able to come, even on the bus or the train. So, but I could feel everyone there in spirit as well. So I think everything's come together perfectly. It couldn't have worked any better. It's hit all the media in the right places, basically.
Yes. It absolutely did. Well, I was very impressed with the turnout for something like that, because most people are not going to, as you say, attend, and not on a bank holiday Monday as well, and especially on such a cold and generally miserable day. So yeah, a good sign. And something I really liked about it as well is all the speakers had been chosen and briefed clearly very well, and they all stuck to the brief, which was don't speak for more than 5 or 6 minutes. And so the whole thing had a very good rhythm to it.
Yeah, that's true.
Which can often be broken if somebody abuses that and starts speaking for twice as long, 3 times as long. People then do just drift away. They lose interest. But that was a really good rhythm to it. Just each speaker was about, like yourself, 5 or 6 minutes, bang on to something else, and it all kept it very, very tight.
The calibre of speaker was excellent. I think the Scottish Family Party provided a lot of good speakers. Craig Houston made a great speech. Craig Houston talks on YouTube. I thought it very important I was scheduled to do 10 minutes or more, but I felt it very important that someone for the Vaccine Injured group spoke, because I think a free speech matter will affect them quite greatly. So I felt it very important for someone of the Vaccine Injured to speak. So I relinquished some of my time for a guy, John Watt, to speak, who spoke really passionately, and he made a good impact. So, but I know what you mean about people droning on. It can be quite tedious. Sometimes if the audio's no great, you're not hearing every word, and it can be quite monotonous. But I think everyone performed really well. Like you said, each speaker was just nailing it over and over again.
Yeah, absolutely. They certainly were, and I think many people gave. There was not one speech there that was out of place or anything like that. Everybody spoke really, really well, and everybody also spoke. Well, not everybody, but several people, including yourself, quoted Robert Burns.
Yeah.
But one verse that they did not quote was his verse from his poem called "Here's to Them That's a War," which goes, "Here's freedom to him who would read, here's freedom to him who would write, for there's none ever feared that the truth should be heard than he whom the truth would indict."
Oh, brilliant.
Absolutely brilliant one, that one. But all the others were on point as well, but certainly Burns has been on point with many of his views there.
Well, I think, again, this strikes... it's not a coincidence that somehow... no one knew anyone else's speeches, right, Alistair? And yet I've quoted one of the greatest sons of Scotland, and the pastor Arthur O'Malley has quoted Robert Burns as well. And you're thinking... Well, it's because it's more than that. It's because it's an attack on Scottish culture, this. And this is why we're going to the heroes of old in order to express ourselves. This is why I think all our minds are sort of melded on this. I think there's what's happened is this. What I wanted to accomplish with this was mainly to bring Unionists and Nationalists together, and I think we've accomplished that and then some. I think there's now a spirit of disobedience in Scotland against Humza Yousaf and this law. We've just seen J.K. Rowling, you were talking about it earlier in the show, baiting the police to go and arrest her. And what's happening this coming weekend? There's an Old Firm match, and who's come out and said something? Ali McCoist. Ali McCoist said he's guaranteed to break the hate crime bill this weekend, and 48,000 other people will. So this is where Humza Yousaf doesn't know the size of the boomerang that he's just thrown. He just does not know, and it's going to scalp him right in the face, summon a belter. And I hope it scalps him right out of the first office.
That's a good way of putting it, the size of the boomerang that he's thrown. Yeah, absolutely. He's thrown a big one, and this one is definitely coming back. Yeah. Just while you were speaking there, was minded of this article that appeared in the National on Tuesday, inside
the protests
against the act at Holyrood. What does he mean by inside the protest? I guess he must have thought he was an undercover reporter or something like that. Niall Fraser of the Scottish Family Party told the National that the law was, quote, alien to Scottish culture.
Yes.
That's a good quote. I like that. He added, quote, "It's my right to be able to offend people. At the same time, the onus is on the person to be offended or not. that's a choice, this choice is then going to lead to criminalisation of people. We've got, and you name a Scottish nationalist group here, we've got humanists, we've got no men in female jails. It's such a wide net of groups we've managed to bring together against this. But we're particularly concerned that our party's views on marriage may trigger this hate crime law. Our belief that it's more beneficial for a child to grow up in a household with a male and female parent will be deemed a hate crime, close quote. That's they're giving you a lot of time there.
So this is a guy. I remember the guys. He's maybe not so bad a guy. Ross Hunter, I think. Well, if you look at the Ross Hunter, he interviewed me. He's interviewed me before at the previous one, and I think he was slightly less helpful the last time round. But I think he, to be fair to him, he's just asked me some plain questions and he's quoted me. So I'm quite happy with his performance there, even if as a journalist for the National. And, you know, I felt like saying, well, if you're going to quote me in full. But it looks like he's done that.
Yes, he has. He has done that. So, and it's a fair article, actually. It's not having any jibes at people. There is somebody who's reported on the National site who is taking jibes at us, by which is meant everybody that was at that event. But that report is just like straight down the middle, which is always good to see. Absolutely. How do you think there's going to be a next step as far as addressing this is concerned?
Well,
how do you see it playing out, Niall?
I've got a couple ideas knocking about that head of mine. So I'm thinking that if
don't give too much away,
it's not going to be too much. I think I suspect the hate crime bill is going to crumble under its own weight. I mean, we've already seen, like, day one, we've got 3,000 plus complaints. And it seems to be weighted against Humza. I think the BBC or the Police Scotland said that Humza has had more hate crime reports received on his speech than J.K. Rowling has. So is this the level of popularity that we're sort of going for? It's like, well, actually, let's see who's had the least amount of hate reports. It's becoming farcical here in Scotland, and the fact that there's no non-crime hate incident reports getting filled out for Humza Yousaf or J.K. Rowling, and yet Murdo Fraser's on the books. So we're entering this two-tier system again, where someone like me is not going to be nearly offered the same protection as someone as the First Minister. Right?
That's a real concern.
It's a massive concern.
Yeah.
So if this bill doesn't crumble under its own weight, which I predict it will, I mean, surely the police are going to be handling this day in, day out, constantly. I mean, the report I heard on the radio the day was they're finishing one call and they're immediately on another. Immediately. It's going to be like this for a good 2 or 3 weeks. So if this doesn't crumble on its own weight, I think we might organise a protest for a November 5th. That's the day I think would be a nice day for a protest.
Yeah.
And it gives us a lot of time to build up for it.
Indeed. Well, and it's happening at the same time as well, of course, as Police Scotland are saying that they're not going to properly or fully investigate certain crimes, especially those ones that don't have a witness. It says here they did a pilot and there was 472 crimes. Nearly 5% of those reported were directly filed, meaning they were not allocated to an officer for investigation as they previously would have been. And that was a pilot which they ran in Aberdeen. And Police Scotland said rolling the policy out nationwide will free up officers' time. Joe Farrell, the Police Scotland Chief Constable, said it would allow time to be spent on solving more serious offences and would help meet, quote-unquote, requirements on us in relation to new legislation. Well, that's interesting. It's going to help them, quote, meet requirements on us in relation to new legislation. Well, what new legislation could that possibly be, I wonder, Ms. Farrell? And the article here in the Telegraph continues: the SNP's hate crime bill comes into force next month, which this is several days ago, which Ms. Farrell admitted could create a, quote, resource implication for police. That's the Police Scotland admit plan may aid criminals.
It's
So, yeah, looks like they might be failing to investigate your stolen bicycle, but they'll be very happy to accuse you of a hate crime if you misgender or insult the person who stole it.
I mean, just think about I mean, surely the police. I mean, you would have seen lots of interviews with the head of the Police Federation. He must have done more media requests in the last 2 weeks than he's ever done in his entire life. I mean, I've seen this guy about 100 times, and each time he's saying the police officers are overstretched. Every part of new legislation that comes through, they just have to deal with it. They get not a lot of training. They must be banging their heads against a brick wall, the police. It's so strange. And yet, where's the sort of where's the courage in the police to say, hold on a minute, this is unworkable. You know, they can't do it. There must come a breaking point, right? And I just feel that point isn't too far in the near future. And when that does happen, it's Humza's already on a sugary peg, as it were. His days in office are numbered. The sand timer is running out, guys. His time in office is coming to an end. Yeah, I've seen Jill Sewell put in the comments a July one in terms of a protest. I quite like the idea of a summer of discontent protest. So I might look into doing that, Jill, and the weather might fare us a bit better this time as well than November will.
Yeah.
I don't know if you wanted to touch upon the story in the BBC around the racist graffiti near in Broughty Ferry near the First Minister's residence, no doubt. And it's day one of the hate crime coming in. It's just so very convenient.
Yes, we saw something about that. What that was about was, in fact, there's a picture of it here. Or at least that's one picture that we've seen. I mean, we're told that there was an incident. Now, well, this article here is from
the BBC, right?
That's from the BBC. That's published yesterday, and it's using that picture. But
underneath
another
the
news
picture,
source has quoted a different picture.
Yes.
So, and with sort of the same lettering and the same rather, and I'm not going to even say the
same
words,
type of slogan, yeah.
but the same type of slogan, and usually the F word isn't spelt in full; it's just like F here, which is kind of unusual graffiti. Maybe it's a polite graffitiist.
Yes, doesn't want to swear.
He doesn't want to swear. He could have gone F. Asterisk, if he had wanted to, to do it properly, but maybe he didn't have the time to do some asterisks.
Well, I mean, the point I was trying to bring across with this whole story is yesterday, I'm pointing out the fact that, hold on a minute, this is very, very coincidental. And if you knew the inner machinations of the SNP and their propagandistic ways, you too would think that there's foul play involved in this story. I mean, it makes perfect sense for me to pay some vandal to go and spray ginger. Oh, gingers suck. Ruined the side of the corner and complain, or something similar. So I put that out there just as a postulation. And today, the Dundee Courier has contacted the Scottish Family Party, basically wanting to criticise and condemn me for doing it. And I've just doubled down and saying, no, actually, I think on balance, it's more likely that this has been done as a propaganda sort of exercise than it has been just some random guy walking along the street in the dead of night with a spray paint can.
Mm-hmm.
And none rings true about this. And then we've got these two different images to lay credence to what I'm saying. There's something wrong here. That in this, there's something more to see in this article, and there's something more to be seen about this graffiti near the First Minister's residence, which is apparently quite a distance away.
That's right. That's right. He's saying it's far too much of a coincidence. Coincidences do happen, of course, and it could well be so that somebody just decided to get angry, and so in any case, we'll just have to see how that one plays out. Good. Yeah, I'm just looking at some of the comments here.
There's really good ones
to say.
If anyone in the comments, I've seen people in the comments that have been saying, I was there on Monday. I think even the British Legends guy said he was there with his two sons holding the flags. I remember those two kids with the flags. Well done, my friend. A lot of other people saying, well, thank you all for coming. Honestly, it meant the world to me to see so many people there in defiance of this. It just it gives us encouragement to keep going. These guys need defeated. As you can see, there was no other political party present there. You think maybe anyone with the Tories would have came? You would think so, given that they voted against the bill. That maybe they'd want to stand with the people as well.
Exactly. That's a really irritating thing, is the extent to which our politicians are either going along with this or are too scared to say anything, or don't want to associate themselves with groups when it's not some kind of official demo that's organised by the establishment. Well, how about just affiliating yourself with the grassroots for a change? How about not allowing yourself to be led along by the media gatekeepers who say that you, Mr. Politician, should not have been there because there was a group there that said this once upon a time. They said something or met somebody or whatever. So many politicians today are scared and bothered about those sorts of things when they should really just try to rise above that and be their own man or woman, as the case may be.
I mean, a lot of the governments operate through it's like policy by focus group. They're afraid to voice their own opinions, and they want to gauge public opinion first and then make a decision, which is just not the way people should operate. I've seen someone says I should be the leader of the Scottish Family Party. I totally disagree. I think the Scottish Family Party's leader is exactly who it should be. If you knew Richard as well as I do, I think you'd know that he was very suited for the position. He's a lot more suited than I am, anyway. I'm more of a loose cannon, I think. Just wanted to say that.
Absolutely. And Bernadette here says that if convictions go on your record and you can't get a job because of that, there's going to be thousands of unemployable people in Scotland. And that's true. And you don't even need to be convicted, Bernadette, because for you to be convicted means that you would have had to have been convicted of a crime, which is to say your words and your intentions would have to go together. Your words and intentions together, that makes the crime. However, if it's just words alone and the police come round and they see that there was no intention, there's no possible way that you can think that there was an intention, you'll still get noted down. That's called a non-crime hate incident. And that's maybe what you were referring to, Bernadette, when you said that. There's going to be thousands of people getting non-crime hate incidences recorded against their name, which, if they then go looking for a job in the public sector or wherever, these are accessible. These reports are accessible to potential employers and to government employers as well, who can look and they'll just see that and be scared away from you, as it were. So that has an influence. That could be that could be an illegal thing, because that's discriminating against your potential job in the future, your potential employment. So that's a serious thing that Bernadette's pointed out there.
It's very serious. I mean, the fact that we would not have found out about this if it was not for Murdo Fraser.
Yeah.
Murdo Fraser was on this non-crime incident, and he's taken Police Scotland to task on this. And just as I managed to shake his hand after the event on Monday. So after the event on Monday, the real rock stars came to town, the comedians. The Comedy Unleashed had a fantastic, and I mean absolutely unbelievable show at, of all places, the Hibs Supporters Club.
Oh, aye.
Right? Because no venue would take them. So Hibs Supporters Club got absolutely filled for the night. And it was, honestly, it was fantastic. We had the Hate Monster. We had Count Dankula do his set. And Count Dankula, that's the first time he's ever done stand-up comedy in Scotland as a Scottish comedian.
Really?
Yes, way. Because he's always been, it's this place used to be toxic to comedians. And it has been, but now it seems that people have flipped. People have said, you know what, F this. I mean, there's no time like the present. Let's just do it. What happens. And I thought I was honestly, Andrew Doyle of Comedy Unleashed pulled it together wonderfully. It was an unbelievable show. And Neil Hanvey was there, Murdo Fraser was there, all the four women in Scotland were there. It was a fantastic event. It was so good.
These politicians were there?
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Did they address the audience at all?
No, they were just sitting. They're just having a good time.
Right.
Yep.
Good.
You would love to see Count Dankula do stand up. Believe me. It was something to behold.
Yes. Well, he's had he got a rough ride. He was the one. I won't go into the full details, but he was the one who taught his puppy to do a naughty salute. His
opening gambit, I don't want to give too much of his act away, but actually he come up and apologised to all the women in Scotland for the Hate Crime Act because he's seen himself as responsible for it way back when. So it was like a coming together of all these different people. It was just wonderful. And this is the sort of spirit that we actually wanted to engender, and it happened. So again, I can't be more happy about the situation.
Well, that's right, and it's things like that, successful events like that, that make you realise you're on the winning team at the end of the day, and we're winning a battle all the time. You know, even though sometimes power is against us, we're still winning. We're still doing things that are basically wins, such as that demo that we had on Monday, the event in the evening, that massive win for us. And certainly the system will take a while before it comes round to our way of thinking, but eventually it will. That's a message of hope, I think, to end this particular discussion with you, Niall. Folks, if you want to follow Niall, every day he's putting out really, really good information and ideas and thoughts, sometimes quite edgy, always relevant. And he's on twitter.com/Niall Fraser 8. Now that's spelt NIALLFRASER, numeral 8. Niall Fraser 8 on Twitter. Please do give him a follow. Niall, thank you very much for your thoughts tonight. Anything else you want to just fire out there?
Just as a final thank you to everyone that made the event happen, the Glasgow Cabbie in particular, the Scottish Family Party in particular, all the amazing speakers, as we've talked before, and all you guys who came along. You showed your support, and you made the event a success. So it means the world to me, and I can't thank you enough.
Great. That's and we can't thank you enough as well, Niall, because you were the organizer with others of it. You were one of the motivating, energetic forces behind it, really making it happen. And thank you to you for that, and for
Appreciate
the
it.
clever stunts that you come up with. And I think you've been rewarded with a lot of support there, and a lot of good ideas coming out of that. So well done
Thank
you, and thank you, and we'll definitely have you back on soon. So enjoy the rest of your evening, folks. Say a big thank you to Niall there. Good night, Niall.
Good night.
Great man is Niall. Fantastic stuff. Good. Folks, please do give this a retweet if you're watching on X. Let's get that out there. This program will stay up for a long time, as long as Elon Musk allows it. So please do fire it around, send it out there, get it out on X by reposting it. And if you give us a quote tweet, then when we find your quote tweet, we'll retweet you to 28,000 people. So that's what we want. Folks, if you haven't seen us before as well, do check out our website where you can get all our written material, such as this wee book for the Union. That's at aforceforgood.uk/shop-1. And our other book, which is out now, is the first in a 5-volume series, and you can get this on Amazon. One Big Country, a big book for the Union, Volume 1. And what this book is doing is it's laying out the philosophy of Scottish and British unionism. And many of you might not know what that philosophy is. Well, it is detailed here in Volume 1 in very easily understood language. You can read this in 2 or 3 hours, 180 pages, easily read, packed with information in every paragraph. So please, folks, search amazon.co.uk for One Big Country, and it will be the first result that comes up, and you won't regret it, I can assure you. Great stuff. Let's see what you folks are saying. What does this button do? Says Niall seems like a principled dude, isn't he just? Scotland Scorpion says Niall is a great guest as always. B White says excellent job, Niall and Alistair. Thanks for the stream. Thank you for watching, folks. Rajamak says thanks for standing up. Alexander says well done, Niall. As does Catherine, says thanks, Niall. Great day on Monday. Daniel says well spoken and intelligence. Folks, thank you to all our supporters and guests for joining us this evening. Take care. We hope to see you all next Wednesday, 7 to 8. So it just remains for me to say thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Please do share this. God bless the United Kingdom, and God save the King. See you next week.